PR Connections Radio presents.
Did you know your clothing could help balance your body's pH levels? Our cutting-edge fabric technology naturally promotes optimal pH balance, helping you feel energized, refreshed, and at your best every day. Use promo code PRTalk for more info. Tap the link in the description or contact our experts at 702-445-9488 to learn more.
Hi, welcome everybody. Liberating Menopause, Lisa Vasquez. I'm your host, coming to you from brcrisktool.cancer.gov. I am I always say I'm very excited because it's always an exciting time to meet with you and be able to bring you some new episodes, some new information. And so in the past episodes, I had talked about women in the workplace and how after 10 years through this global research network that studies women in the workplace, we had went over some of the changes of there's no elevation in the management, leadership. We talked about disability, but we didn't go into the culture care of, especially for the Black women. You know, we never got to really talk about that in the experience of what happens in the workplace, but more importantly, in the health side of this. And because there's so much, there's so many mixed ideas of this commitment into health and culture care that we're going to have some special guests today speaking on this with me. So it's going to be very important, and especially because during that research for corporate America, one of the things that one of the women said, it's a heavy burden. You have to be very aware of different stereotypes. If you're too strong, you're an angry Black woman. If you're too soft, you can't handle the role or you're unqualified. You know, the thinking that the culture had improved for women of color, but it hasn't. And not a lot of things have changed in the last 10 years. And so when we get into breast health and menopause with this culture care, it's really important to really understand that the rates are different compared to the white woman. And it's very hard to understand and really bring this to you of why. So I'm bringing on today Betty Ann and Angelic Lazam Clement. They're coming to me from Trinidad, Tobago. These are two small islands in the Caribbean. And so I'm excited to have this discussion. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining Liberating Menopause. Hi, everybody.
Thank you so much.
Hi, Lisa.
Hi, Betty. So Angelic, please. And these ladies, they have such a beautiful long story of, everything that they've done to help us empower women and be part of this whole big movement of changing the world on our sides. So Angelic, go ahead and tell us a little bit about your everything that you've done. Go ahead.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. And Lisa, thank you so much for having us on your program. I am Angelic, and I hail from the beautiful islands of Trinidad and Tobago. I am a counselor, family life coach, and I have a deep passion for helping individuals and their families thrive. I am also a registered nurse and a licensed midwife. So this afternoon, I'm happy for this opportunity to share our skills and expertise with Lisa in this program this afternoon. Thank you so much for having us.
Oh, thank you, Angelic. Betty Ann?
Hello. Thank you, Lisa, for having us. I'm also from the beautiful islands of Trinidad and Tobago, but I'm residing in the United States at the moment. And I'm also a registered nurse and a midwife. I'm also a licensed menopause champion with the Menopause Expert Group of the United Kingdom. And also, I have a passion for women's health. I too have done a few things, but my passion is in women's health and educating women about menopause, how to thrive during menopause. So thank you, Lisa, for having us. We look forward to an exciting conversation.
This is going to be exciting. So one of the things that, and this is really so important, but it's not really spoken about. So we're going to be starting with Betty Ann on this subject. And this is in regards to bra fitting, ladies. I mean, we all think that, and this does have a lot to do with your menopausal changes because it's all about breast changes, right? Finishing up Breast Awareness Month. This is when I spoke with Betty, it was unbelievable to hear because breastfitters are out there. And back in my day, I'm always bringing them back to my days in mammography and things like that. When I became certified, I chased everything there was to understand about breast. So I have 2 certifications. One was from CAMP, and the other one was from Hormonal. These certifications at the time was prior to so much of breast augmentation being replacing breast fittings, because breast fittings at that time were because of the prosthetic forms that women, when they had mastectomies, they would wear these prosthetic forms in their breasts. Well, through the years when I was working and seeing this, I can see some of them were too heavy, those prosthetics. The ladies didn't like wearing them. They felt uncomfortable in their bras. And then it all came down again to bra fitting. And you had to have the correct fittings. So I wanted to just do everything I could for women. And so, of course, I took up these 2 courses. But then suddenly we elevated into more augmentation. So the breast fittings for prosthetics was kind of eliminated a little more in the place and health reasons for breast health. And why we wear bras is because, we have to support the breast, right? So tell us, Betty, about that bra fitting and supporting the breast in the whole package.
I didn't hear the last part, what you said.
About supporting the breast in bra fitting because of the support that it brings to the breast, to our posture, to these things. Yes.
You know something, Lisa? Having a proper fitting bra is so important. And why? Because when we are in the workplace in particular, we may work for 8 or 10 or 12 hours and you want to be comfortable. So therefore, having a proper fitting bra would not only enhance how you look and how your clothes fits, but you would also be comfortable. Because a poorly fitting bra can cause physical as well as emotional problems. Some of the physical problems could be back pain, shoulder pains, neck pain, poor posture. It can cause skin irritation, chafing if it is too tight, or even if it's too loose. And the underwires can cause a problem to many people. All of this could even lead to headaches. And inadequate support can lead to premature breast sagging, which is something we talk about in menopause. And we know that in menopause, sagging breasts occurs, right? So premature breast sagging can occur if the bra itself is not well fitted because the cup is too large. So the breast sags in the cup. Also, it can cause breast pain, especially if the bone or if the bone at the side is not fully covering the breast, or if it is cutting the breast, yes, in part. And so it can lead to damage to the breast tissue, and then damage and then permanent scarring. There are some women you see a deep scar on their shoulder, and that is because the bra strap is the bra size is wrong. And something that might come up in another question, but if the band is not the right size, then the strap carries the weight of the breast, and that too can lead to problems.
Yes. And so by saying that, so this is back to the mammography room. Women have walked in for all these years, the wires, the underwire bras. So they're wearing these underwire bras, but those bras and the wires are very dangerous. We don't support the idea of having underwires because they're not healthy for the breast to begin with. And then eventually they start dagging on the sides, just like Betty was saying, under your arm. There's a lot of tenderness. There's a lot of challenges with breast pain that come in when they come in. The first thing when somebody comes in and tells me about this breast pain that they're having, I wanted to see. And then you can see the engravements of the bra.
Right.
You know, you look at the wires, sometimes they're already sticking out, but they're still wearing these bras. And then sometimes the breasts are heavier than what the wire can hold. So they're overlapping and all that digging underneath. And the pressures on the breast, the constrictions of the flow of the fluid in the breast tissue is obstructed. And these are things, and there's a lot of inflammation that builds up because you put on a traffic lane of, you know, inflammation. I mean, it's all just building because it's all choking the breast and the back. And then if you look, some women, you could just see them mostly in the summertime when they're wearing thin blouses, but you see the back of the bra is past the scapula instead of under where it should.
You know, it's ill-fitting.
In the out, you know, so you can see this over every city, anywhere you're at, you'll see it, but people don't understand that that's the wrong fitting. They're just happy to be in the bra. So and
most women, before Angelique comes in, most women, by the time they enter the door, they want to just, that's the first thing they probably take off.
Okay, and that's the other thing, because this is what I would let them know. You are actually choking that breast. I mean, you put it on at 6 in the morning, you're not taking it off till 6 at night. So imagine a rubber band on your wrist. You know, at a point, if it's too tight, you take it off right away, right? Because you realize, oh my God, it's choking. You know, you feel the sensation radiate into your arm, right? But because we're so busy with that bra on at work, we're sitting there. And of course, it's not like you can get up and go adjust yourself, really, because you got to wear that bra all day. And that choking is like a rubber band, and it's really constricting. And that's why the first thing you do is want to pop it off. And then they just jump out like, you know what I mean? Because of our body talks to us. These are some whispers that are bringing to us. Angelique, what do you say to this? Because Angelique works with a lot of risk factors in breast cancer and breast health. She teaches a lot about, you know, the discoveries of self-examining and the breast lamp. Both ladies have this in common, but they both specialize a little different. So Angelique, what are your thoughts on this? What do you see when you have this change in somebody's health? Because do you ever see it suspected because of the bras that they're wearing?
Well, there's the other extreme where the bra is too big.
Yeah, there you go, the other end of the spectrum. Yeah.
Have the ill-fitting bras. It's also very uncomfortable. So the both ends of the spectrum is a challenge. And we do see this all the time. And we realize that women do what they know. They do not know better. So the education that they have, they would have learned probably from their mothers, their grandmothers, and they just pass it down. So I'm happy for forums like this, where we can reach out to women, where we could teach, where we can share so that they can make an informed choice.
Yes. And Angelique, you know, as you mentioned about being too big, one of the things that we discovered when we did it together in Trinidad and Tobago was that women equated the number to the size of the bra, of the cup. So you will find very slim women, because they are heavy busted by and by a 40G, because they think that because they have big breasts, they need to go for the number. But we had to teach them that the number relates to the size of around under the breast. And that is the band. And that the band carries over 80% of the support for the breast. So that was something that we observed as well, that we had to teach women that the number has to do with the circumference around their chest.
And, another thing, Betty, is that, and Lisa, is that how we look as women has a lot to do with our self-esteem, how we feel about ourselves, how we present ourselves. And sometimes, you know, we look at women and we can see that from how they're behaving, that they're probably not feeling so good about themselves. So it has a lot to do with your positivity, your confidence, the way you carry yourself, the way you present yourself, the way you look, and people relate to you on that level also. So it's so important that your undergarment fits properly for you to
Yes.
look a certain way and also feel a certain way about yourself.
Yes.
So wearing the bras, I mean, because of the fibrous band and tissues that we have in our breasts, these are the things that women, when they discover, they start to collapse and drop. And that's why the support with the bra is so important, to keep that balance for as long as we can keep it. Today's world, now we have so many camisoles and bras that are being built into those camisoles, but they're not having supports. Not all are having a lot of support structure. So, and people are reaching for this because it looks a little easier than putting a bra on. But I'm finding and seeing just from this conversation that they're actually putting themselves in a little bit more risk. I understand that can be comfort, like if you're just going to go out for the night, not to wear the whole 12 hours, because the whole 12 hours you're in that workplace or whatever you're doing, the breasts need the support. So how big is your community that you serve, Angelique?
Before I go into that question, Lisa, I just wanted to make one more comment concerning the breast and bra fitting. I've seen a lot of young women refusing to breastfeed because they're worried about sagging breasts and
Oh,
fitting. So I just
yes.
wanted to throw that in. They hesitate to breastfeed because of the end result. They feel when my breast will get too heavy, it will look different, and I don't want that. So we can just have to reassure them that once you have a proper fitting bra, that should take care of that issue. So I just wanted to.
Right. Yes. And especially at that moment, you really need the support in that bra for sure. I mean, and again, see, that's the time you should be able to release the milk, to feed, and the concern about, again, like you were saying, the self-confidence, but uh, that's where you have to tie in what's going to be more important at this moment, feeding the child, giving that nourishment, which is pure nourishment, or, I'm sorry, but the vanity that kicks in. I don't know how, I mean, that's just something that they really have to decide and break down. But as you said, today we do have newer bras and they just kind of flip open, but they still keep the support, where they just have the opening there. And so it's very interesting. And that's why I really wanted to talk about this, because of that, because we don't talk about it. I know in some stores here, they had some bra fitters, but it wasn't, it didn't have a lot of attention. The only one that I really knew as a bra fitting having attention are people when they had mastectomies, went for those mastectomy fittings for their prosthetics, so that's when it was real prevalent. But today, this is why we need to bring it back. This is why stores really need to condition and sell their bras with that type of support, not just to hang them there because they're pretty colors. And you know what I mean? It should really have a bond for the woman. So talking about where where you come from, Angelique.
Angelic.
Angelic, I'm sorry. And so the community that you come from, how big, how much do you serve? Because you serve a lot of women. You have your own business. It's called Exclusive
Counseling, coaching, like coaching services. Exclusive counseling and life coaching services.
Yes.
Right, so the community I serve is women are diverse in age, ranging from young adults like in the early 20s right up to seniors. However, the majority, I would say, middle-aged, yeah? And there's some definite patterns with breast health and self-care, because what I realized that the older women, let's say my age and older, we were raised in a culture of modesty and silence about your health. So nobody spoke about these things, yeah? Whereas the younger women, they are more vocal. There's a lot of information out there, multimedia. So they're a little more open to talk about, their health and what they're experiencing. So as I said, my community is very diverse, from early 20s to seniors.
Wow. And Betty, so Betty and I, we both have attended the Menopause Experts program in the UK. And so, we have a lot in common on that subject and a lot more beyond that. But, this is a really best part about this is having that community, and we're spread out all around the world. So there's a lot more champions that the UK has built with us. And this is how I met Betty, because we got to do a Zoom together where we got to meet the faces that are in the United States. And so besides myself, I have Betty now. So in your community, what is it that you're serving? I mean, are you reaching out more about this bra fitting, or what is your outreach for this?
Wow. Where I am, I actually, my husband is a university professor, and we are very close to the university. So the population that I serve right now, majority of are young adults or late teens. So, and also, well, it's wide, just as Angelique mentioned, because I also minister to women who are in their 40s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s. And we talk about, I do a lot of talks on menopause. I educate everyone about menopause, even the younger ones. I make them aware of menopause. We talk about their period. We talk about bra fitting. I always deal with bra fitting because that's a passion I have too, because I like to see women look their best. And then sometimes when they visit me, I can see from the way a top is fitting that the bra is not the proper bra. So then because I've gotten to know them over time, I can then broach the topic and then we can talk about it. And they say, really, I didn't know that. And then I go into that and educate them and demonstrate to them and give them the signs. How do you know that a bra is well fitting?
So we have a lot of challenges in the workplace with the young adults and things like that who are entering into this new world, growing up and coming into their lifeline cycles and menopause and, heading in that way. And some ways throughout, again, that research, because it shows that in the last 10 years, women haven't elevated much. They're kind of scared of walking forward into this because they feel that they're going to have to go through those same kind of challenges. And when they're dealing with their young cycles, I mean, since you're talking about the older teenagers and college students, what kind of symptoms are you seeing in our young women? Because eventually they'll be coming into that workplace. And how are they dealing with some of their symptoms today?
Right. Well, a number of them have dysmenorrhea or painful period.
Mm-hmm.
A couple of them have also PCOS.
Mm-hmm.
And so they have the skip period, the signs of hirsutism, the emotional, the emotional challenges that come with that. So those are the main two things that I deal with, is the painful period, and then for some people, the irregular period. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I mean, that could be that's a big thing. Because when I do talk about women in the workplace, we're talking about a lot of perimenopause and menopause. And so coming back into the beginning of the cycle, they do know that I did write a book about that. Mm-hmm. And so to hear this, because this is what you see, I mean, we hear more from perimenopausal women in the workplace than this younger crowd, because they're going through it, but at the same time, they're so fully loaded, they're not even recognizing these small whispers and symptoms that are happening to them, right? So,
but sorry to cut you, Lisa, but as you mentioned that, Angelique will know that the workplace is not really prepared to accommodate the younger woman who is going through this period, because I suffered a lot as a youngster, missing a lot of days of work and even of school because of painful period. So we are talking about women in the workplace. So not only is the workplace supposed to make accommodation for our perimenopausal and menopausal women, but also the younger ones, because the younger ones, normally the perimenopausal and the menopausal may have outgrown that one with the pain, but the younger ones have the pain that could keep them away from work. So in both cases, managers need to be aware that once you have women working in your workplace, women in your workplace that you need to make some sort of accommodation for them, because like in Trinidad and Tobago, we have the what's the program we have, Angie? The on the job training. So we have some young ones.
EAP, Employee Assistance Program.
Right, but you also have the on the job training where you have then the young ones coming into the workplace. You understand? So I'm just saying that the employer doesn't make accommodation for these young ones, and we have even younger ones coming in now with the OJT program.
Okay,
and then so you can talk about the EAP. Yeah.
Yes, that's like introduction into the workplace.
Yeah.
Yes. So besides that, what I see from my side is a lot of women under a lot of stress. Now, some of the workplaces, they may have like a stress management program, but it's not all the workplaces. It's not like across the board. Now, a lot of these women, they perform in so many different roles. Some of them are young mothers. They work full-time. They're trying to advance their education, so they're also studying, and there is stress all around. So think about it. You have all these roles that you're performing. You're a manager on the job. You're performing the job of a wife, probably looking after an aging relative. And sometimes they accept this stress as normal. They tell themselves that, they're internalizing the stress. And that, of course, as we mentioned before, Lisa, will lead to inflammation. Yeah. And, it's happening there quietly and, affecting their emotions, affecting their behavior. And then they're carrying the stress as if it's okay, So they would come to with physical symptoms. They would say, I'm always tired. I have headaches, digestion issues, body aches, hormonal imbalances. And they're not understanding how the stress is affecting them in the workplace. So as I said, some companies are becoming more aware. So under that same umbrella of the employer
Your volume is getting softer.
Okay, under the same umbrella of the employee assistance program, there might be a stress management program, there may be a fatigue management program, but as I said, it's not across the board. So that's what I see from where I sit. The emotional upheaval, a lot of irritability, anxiety, and affecting how they perform the job. Yeah. So in the workplace, there are a lot of psychological issues affecting women and their performances.
So, do you ever see that this all has to do with their nourishment also? Because of all the upset food that they eat, because they're always eating on the run, they're always eating really quick. I mean, all women. So, I mean, when I do talk about this, I really incorporate all of them because I want the young to see where they're headed, and I want the ones that are there to be able to lead them a little, more on the trail. And this is why I reach out to leaderships and, the healthcare leaderships and corporate leaderships to really understand that, there's no mental spot for us to go rest our mind for a moment. There's just so much commotion when you're in big cities and you're working downtown in big office buildings. You're on the run to go get something to eat. You got to get back in the elevator with all these people, and, where did and you got to wait till you get home, and then when you get home you don't even think that could do it, right? I mean, they're in traffic, so those levels of cortisol are just going off the hook, and that inflammation in a woman's life, and well, anybody, but inflammation is our really number one what we call more like a lion, because once you're not feeding that lion and making him happy and getting him nourished, he's going to attack. And this is why all that time in their young years, from 20s and 30s, by the time they come to 40, they're getting attacked because the nourishment isn't trailing their backgrounds or where they're at, because they're not informed of that. Because being told in my life, I was growing up with these women, but because, again, they were giving me a 30-year long-term view of it, what they didn't really understand either was we had good nourishment. So, back in the 80s, soil was better, all these, minerals, all this food wasn't as processed as what we have today. So you didn't really have to speak much on it because you can see the health in them. But as time went on in my years of being in there, I could start seeing the health decline. And that was when the rise of processed food came in. And then women's health started to decline, where they started losing things. But again, with young women, it's hard to, we got to stop the partying and things like that. And that's not going to happen. So, and I understand. I mean, I did it all too. But you really got to nourish that party in life also. You've got to drink your water. You have to eat good food. I mean, they say, I mean, if you're going to play that role, you got to really play the role and internally really keep yourself together, because by the time you come out of that role and you're only 30, it's already showing on you. And I could attest to that, because when I hit 30, I was 163 pounds. So that was because I didn't sleep right. That was because I was up all night. That was because, I was out partying, dancing, having fun, doing what I did, and, not eating right. I mean, I'd come midnight and I'm having big old, Mexican food, whatever I'm eating, so, but it all showed up at 30, right at the door, knocked at 30. I mean, I used to be 126, right? And all of a sudden you're 163. That's pretty hard. But I didn't know at the time, though, hormonals. Look back at the trail, but I didn't know then. So
and that's why, Lisa, when I'm talking about menopause now, I advise women to start early. So from your early 30s, if you can in your 20s, but normally by our teens and 20s, we think we are invincible, But by 30s, start taking charge of your health. And something I learned, and I tell women now, and they find it helpful. You start adding before you take away, because when you start thinking, I have to change this, I have to change that, I have to change that. So I have to improve my sleep hygiene, I have to improve my nutrition, I have to exercise. Everything seems overwhelming. But add something first. So you never exercise, so start walking with your friends. Go on a nice morning walk, or go in the evening when you come back from thing. And then when that is established, you might think of going on to do some other form of exercise, which is like the weights, doing weights and things like that, right? And then afterwards, I have started preparing my meals ahead of time so that I don't have to eat on the run. So when on a Sunday, I prepare my meals, I can take every day, I just grab one, right? So you do a little bit at a time, and you keep adding before you start taking away. So, yeah. And they told me that they found that was helpful advice for them, so they don't feel overwhelmed in making the changes that are necessary.
Yes. And this is, again, why I started with that book was I believe that it's when you start your period, this practice should all take place. So by the time we hit 30, we already know, because we're seeing how we're feeling. We're seeing the difference. We're seeing, where as young kids today, they start breaking out and having all these irritations and things like that. And it's not just with the hormonal activating, it's the nourishment. So if they can start then by really making those choices, when they're in the cafeteria, it's all up to a woman, and it's all about her choices and what we do. So by encouraging and strengthening that age group is going to make it easier for what we're talking about, 30s, 40s, and 50s, because here's where we find it, because that's where all the breakdown starts to come. That's where the lion starts to attack. He starts to see he's not being fed right. And so in your self-care, Angelique, tell me about, because bringing your pastoral ministry, right? This is what you do for your self-care. How do you help women see their health as not as a weakness?
Okay, so I help these women by helping them to, first they want to validate their stories. Yeah, they need to connect the experiences they're having with what's happening with them. So you want to validate that what's happening to them is real. Yeah. So you want to let them know, look, sometimes you have to say, slow down, take notice. What is your body trying to tell you? Why are you feeling this way? And once the clients begin to link their emotions with the physical sensations, you find that there's more self-awareness. So that I encourage now the practice that you need to nurture both your body and soul. You know, that might be through journaling, encourage some of them to journal, who like to journal, through prayer, through the use of mindfulness, gentle movement, as Betty Ann say, exercise, improved sleep, and supportive nutrition, you know. But most importantly, you know, you want to remind them that self-care and self-compassion is not being selfish. Because what I realize is that a lot of women, you know, they feel guilty about spending money on themselves. They feel guilty about pampering themselves. They feel guilty about being about themselves. They feel they look after the home, they look after the husband or partner, they look after the children, they look after the pets, after the plants, and they leave themselves for last. So they're encouraged, you know, to, as I say, self-care, as Betty, I know I always like to say, put on your oxygen first. Yeah? On the plane, that's what they tell you. Before you assist someone else, put on your oxygen first. And another thing I tell a lot of women, I ask them, I say, after God, who is next?
Yeah.
After God, who is next? And I always encourage them, after God, you are first. You cannot pour from an empty cup. Your cup has to be replenished in order for you to be able to pour to someone else.
Yeah.
For sure. Yes. Well, yes. I mean, this is just a great conversation. So, Betty, what were your thoughts on that last question about your self-care when you talk to them,
Well,
your students?
well, sorry, I totally agree with Angelic. I totally that you need to look after yourself, and you know, you cannot pour from an empty cup. If you are not well, you cannot look after anybody else. So we need to teach women about prioritizing their own health
themselves, period. I mean, yes, that's the most important thing, but that is a hard flip, you know, because for centuries and years this is how it's all performed.
Yeah.
But with technology and all these things that have come out and changed our world and changed our lives, this is how, I mean, it's just gone faster, and we went faster with it instead of remembering ourselves. Right around this time, I always, you know, we're thinking about those gifts and everything that we're going to start preparing for the families and everything. But where's the preparation for us to prepare for that? You know, that's self-time. That's the mindset that we need to start getting, especially for women in the workplace, because it's so hard. They go through so much. They're dealing with a lot of different cultures, different attitudes, different hormonal shifts, different everything. And then when they come out of that, then they have to come home. And this is the universal way that we have been taught to think. And nobody ever taught us to think about ourselves, to invest in ourselves, invest in our health. We've been taught to cover up, do what we do out here, makeup, hair, color, nails, what have you. But to make those nails really look good, what do you need inside? You know, learning that whole trail is what's important, because it's your car, it's your engine, you know.
And you know, Lisa, as you're speaking there, it reminds me that our identity is wrapped up in so many things that we do. And what made me think of that was when I did the leadership and mentorship course with Dr. Nadine Collins. The first question that we were asked was, who are you? And if you ask many women, who are you? They cannot tell you who they are, because they have never taken the time to know themselves. They are a mother, they are a wife, they are a carer, they are this, they are that. But who are you? What is your passion? Is there something that you've always wanted to do and you've never gotten the chance to do? Are you doing anything towards achieving that little goal? It doesn't have to be much. You may have always liked floral arrangements. You may have always liked dressmaking. You know, you're looking after everybody else. But what are you taking one step towards achieving something that separates you from seeing yourself as someone because you are attached to this person? You understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
So apart from being a mother, apart from being a wife, how do I see myself? Am I a woman of passion? Are there things that I really like? So that is important in our culture too, because on one of our platforms, one of the lady mentioned that when she started going through menopause, she wasn't even sure if she needed help. But what she was feeling told her that she needed help. But she grew up around so many strong women that they were saying, well, we just got on with it. But the world has changed. You got on with it. Because most likely our grandparents and some of our parents were at-home moms.
Yes.
But we are now in the workplace and we now have children. Well, Angelique, when we grew up home, our parents didn't have to be rushing back and forth, taking us to this class, that class, the other class. We played in the streets. We played at school. Now parents speak to parents in Trinidad and Tobago. They have to take their children football, piano, violin, this, that. So they just they are so busy. Am I talking the truth, Angelique?
Yes.
Oh,
And
yeah, no, for sure, because I grew up.
yeah, so that is where culture comes in, Lisa. And even among our culture, we have seen throughout the years how the culture itself has changed because people have changed. More travel, more exposure to other cultures, you know?
Yes.
So it has impacted.
Well, it's just the flip of the telephone now that can take you to all these cultures and show you all these different things. Yeah, and they make it look so easy, but it's really not easy. I did do an episode on this. It was called From Crayons to Keyboard, because we lose our dreams in between, and I want them. I always talk about every 10 years we carry a backpack, and at that 10th year, like when you're going to hit 50, that 50 year, it's like being a newborn again. You empty out the backpack, throw out the things you don't need to carry into that next decade, but you always keep those dreams in the pocket. Don't ever let them disappear and diminish, because that's what should be inspiring you. But throw out the dreams, you know what I mean? Because the weight gets too much and they're carrying all this in, and you don't need that in that next decade. You already dealt with it, so but the one thing you haven't made and reached yet are the dreams that you want to bring through, that you were thinking of, if that's what you like doing, making flowers and baskets and being in that. There's just so many dreams that we've had, and then all of a sudden they changed with our identities, because our identities that start to change, right? When we become a mother, when we become the wife, when we become the worker, the leader, the senior. But what happens when all those titles come off and now we're standing there? What do we do with who we were, So yes, this is just like a really great, conversation. And so, coming from the small island that you come from, Angelique, so how do they carry that through? I only have a few more minutes, but how do they carry that through in your community? How do you see? Do you see, because your life isn't as fast as it is here, correct?
It's fast,
It is very fast.
It's very fast because
Yeah.
of the building of the new what happens?
Well, we are very westernized in Trinidad right now.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes, we are a small country, but people travel a lot. Every household, like during the summer vacation, people will travel. They'll travel for Christmas. They'll travel for Thanksgiving. Besides that, social media, we know all what's happening in first world countries, and what's happening there, it's happening here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but Angelique is being very modest, but Angelique herself has been to probably 40 or 50 countries. So
Right, that's right. 39, right?
Trinidad is a very developed place. Trinidad and Tobago.
Yeah.
Tobago is more idyllic and quiet and so on, but Trinbagonians are people who are well read, they're well educated, they're well traveled. So yeah.
Wow, how cool is that? That's really exciting to take me into that world, because throughout my whole life, speaking with women and from different cultures, different countries, in mammography rooms, that's where they would take me. I mean, I look through their eyes, they give me the story, what it was in their backyard or this or that. So that's pretty fascinating, because I did hear of the boat people, and but I never really talked to somebody from the culture that you're coming from. So I really appreciate this education and speaking today with women in the workplace, because this has just been a great way to start to close down my October month of bringing awareness, self-care, most importantly, self-love for ourselves and what we do. And always remembering, we are a child of the Most High, and in whatever high that you find that in your heart, where you meditate at. So it's a really great thing to be able to talk with you both about this. So I thank you again for joining me on this subject. And I look forward to us doing more together, which hopefully we're going to be doing that. So I'll tell them that next time. So thank you so much. I really appreciate having you on today, and just hold on, and we're going to close out. And again, thank you so much, everyone, for joining me today from brconnectionsradio.com. Lisa Vasquez being your host, Liberating Menopause. We really want to empower the world. We are here to bring solutions to create that change with the women in the workplace. And, of course, men are fit into there too, because we are all hormones. So what we do say, reflects on everybody. So to all those leaders out there, I hope you hear these things, because we really do need a change in that workplace to help us restore ourselves, keep ourselves together, and break out of this the way we came into it, as a whole person, not a little broke down, exiting and, being left out there to be lost with no dreams and no hopes. And I really want the world to enjoy their pensions and come out and have fun and go visit these islands and do a 39 travel country. I mean, that's just amazing. I'm lucky I've been around 6, 7, 8 states, one country, but that's it. Thank you so much again for being here, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
This podcast is brought to you by NVisionU. NVisionU has discovered how to impact spirit, body, and soul with spray technology in just 30 seconds. With NVisionU, you can achieve optimal health and start living the life you have always dreamed of. Use the promo code NVisionU.com/VernDix to take control of your health naturally. PR Connections Radio thanks you for watching this podcast. Check out more episodes of this show and our others at prconnectionsradio.com.